Good morning and welcome to Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE, streaming online at kvre.com and on iHeartRadio. With Tracy Simpson, I'm Mark Oliver. Happy Saturday to you. Tracy, how was your week this week? How are things going in Simpson land?
Well, actually, not too bad, especially after this last weekend. I mean, there were some great sporting events and had a really good time, trying to keep up with all the commercials that were on the Super Bowl. A little different. But anyway, that's a whole nother story, Mark. But some really good sports stuff all through the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the 2024-25 NFL season is finally over. A very long season, lots of storylines, but of course we can't put the season to bed without talking about the biggest game of the season, or was it? Super Bowl 59, Eagles Chiefs, the big storyline going in. Could Kansas City, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the crew do something that had never been done before, win 3 Super Bowls in a row? I put emphasis on that. Of course, the Green Bay Packers technically winning 3 straight championships going into the first couple of Super Bowls, but nobody's ever won 3 of the actual big game with the big title attached to it. And well, after Sunday night, that record is still going to hold with nobody ever doing it. Kansas City was absolutely outmanned. Now, Tracy, I'm going to toot my own horn here for a second, because if you go back to our show last week, everybody thought I was kidding. Everybody thought I was joking about the Philadelphia Eagles tuning into us on KVRE online on their phones. But guess what? I laid the blueprint. I told them exactly how they needed to get it done if they wanted to win. Maybe they listened to me, maybe they didn't. But they did exactly what I said last week. Get to Patrick Mahomes early, pressure the quarterback, and start that disruption early, starting with the football. Of course, Kansas City won the toss and gave them the football. But it's all started with the opening drive and really catching Kansas City on that back foot. Jalen Hurts is going to win Super Bowl MVP. The wide receivers had big days. The defense deserves credit for this Super Bowl win and the dominance behind this Super Bowl win, because this was a game where Philadelphia was going in as the underdog in this squad, and maybe rightfully so going in. It was Kansas City's championship to lose, and they absolutely did lose it on Sunday night in New Orleans.
Man, I'm telling you what, Mark, but you're right. You hit it. I mean, your coaching aspect, I couldn't be more proud, to be honest with you. But you're right. Getting them flustered, is what I call it, because every turn that they made, it was the wrong turn. And it seemed like he could not get in rhythm. And when you have somebody, especially the offense, when they're not in rhythm, and of course you knew that he was going to make plays. That's just what he does. I mean, it's that simple. But every time he did that, it was almost like they knew when he was going to stumble and throws that pass off kilter, but then they had somebody there to intercept or to hit him when he was throwing that pass off kilter. So it was something special. I think it was a brilliant coaching aspect from every point of the Philadelphia, from offense and defense. I'll be honest. And special teams too, by the way.
Yes.
Because, I mean, their kicker, hey, you got to admit. Now, first part of the game, when they had a couple of those penalties go against them, here's what I thought was the best part. You did not see Philadelphia. They didn't panic. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was the biggie right there. When they got turned away on their first possession, they didn't panic. And then everybody thought, okay, here comes Kansas City, blah, blah, blah. But then the defense stepped up. And from that point of view, when I looked at the stats, and I couldn't believe it, when I saw that first possession, second possession, third possession, and then in the fourth possession, and at that point they only had 52 yards, I went, wow, in 17-0, 24-0. And I'm thinking, this ain't right. I was waiting for them to come out and definitely and ask, Brady, what's it going to take for him to do the comeback kid? And that never happened. They never did ask Brady that, did they?
Seemed like the perfect broadcast for Tom Brady to be on, of course, with the biggest Super Bowl comeback in history. And my house was literally on fire during this game. Of course, I live in a house full of Chiefs fans. I am not one, but I will say I did believe that the Chiefs would win this game in a close game. I'm going to stand by that. I'm not going to flake on that now. But I always, even with the deficit early, I remember I kept telling the room, I was like, I don't know if this is over yet. I don't know, Patrick Mahomes, we've seen what he's done before. Remember the 28-3 with Tom Brady coming back. I was like, if he is going to follow in the footsteps of Brady, they're calling him that, he's on the trajectory to be better than Brady. If he's going to live up to that, this would be the perfect opportunity on the biggest stage to come back and make that comeback. But that comeback never happened.
No,
it never materialized. And imagine being a Chiefs fan in this game and just looking at the box score only, because yes, they weren't getting points on the board, but Kansas City was actually doing some things rather well in this game. They did the best job any team has done all season in containing Saquon Barkley, who ran 25 times for 57 yards. The Eagles were held to 3 for 12 on third downs, failed to convert their only fourth down. They turned the ball over in the red zone and averaged only 5.1 yards per play, fewer than Kansas City in this game. So given all that, you would think, Kansas City is in this game, going to win this game. But, Patrick Mahomes turned in one of his worst performances of his NFL career. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It's okay. That's what I had to tell my children, who were nearly in tears by the end of the night. It's okay, because Tom Brady went to, was it 10 Super Bowls? He played in 10 Super Bowls, went 7-3,
mm-hmm.
but he lost those 3. He lost one of those to a Philadelphia Eagles squad that was absolutely the underdog in that matchup with Nick Foles and nobody.
Really surprised.
Well, and it came down a few trick plays at the end, but if the greatest of all time can still lose 3 Super Bowls, 2 to Eli Manning, 1 to Nick Foles, then the Chief Kingdom is going to be okay. Red Kingdom's going to live to see the sunrise, right? And hats off to Philadelphia. Here I am talking all about Kansas City. I'm pretty much done on the Chiefs now, because hats off to Philadelphia, because you could see the emotion in their eyes, what this meant to them. Saquon Barkley, it was his birthday, by the way. What a cool birthday present for him. We're going to talk more about Saquon Barkley later in the show today, but just an absolute all-around performance. This fan base is arguably the most dedicated, the most enthusiastic, the most passionate fan base in all of professional sports. And, of course, they burned down the city of Philadelphia anyway, which I knew they were going to win or lose anyway. But, Philadelphia wanted it more. They came out, played lights-out defense, offensively, made some huge plays, some great touchdowns, and it was a statement performance for the Eagles that I think, taking down a Goliath in Kansas City, I think it's just going to pave the way for the Eagles to continue to be in that discussion as among the NFC's best teams going forward, where I don't see this team really losing anything as we look ahead to next season.
Well, and I'm going to tell you right now, I think it was a complete team effort, because when, like you said, 56 yards rushing, whatever, but then everybody else stepped up and some of the big plays. And speaking of birthday boys, how about a certain rookie, 22 years old? Will he ever get another Oski pick six in his history? Probably not, but
maybe not.
But think about that. Is Iowa, University of Iowa, and all of everybody up there a little bit gloating this whole week? You better believe they are. But what a great aspect to be a part of something, just a youth. And and I'm going to bring up another point right here too, Mark. That the team combined with Philadelphia is one of the youngest teams as age-wise to win the Super Bowl, and that's a common denominator with some other teams that have gone to complete this same task, all right? So keep that in mind. Yes, they did have veterans on there, but it was one of the youngest combined teams as far as ages to win the Super Bowl, and I think that's key in their next run if they can stay together. Now, of course, here's what we got to bring up down the road, and we will bring this up, maybe not so much today, losing their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So that's going to have an effect on the team. Hey, we thought it might be big with them losing their center, the Hall of Fame center, bringing in a rookie, but not so much. But 2 coaches, yikes. So we'll see. There's a lot of key factors here, but still, though, a great combination, a great effort. And look, you got to have a winner, you got to have a loser. But I'm going to tell you this, too, though. Let's shift back to Kansas City real quick. Mahomes took it on the chin.
Yeah.
And in the post-interview, he said, my bad.
Yeah.
He did that. like him, don't like him, whatever the case is, but that's the sign of a champion right there, saying, look, my bad. I did it. This is on me. You can't perform like I did and expect to win. And you gotta like that in a man that took responsibility. And that's huge, not only in the game of sports, but also in the game of life.
Eagles went after him hot and heavy. They took out the Chiefs' run game. Just with the game script there, Isaiah Pacheco was never a factor because he really couldn't be a factor at that point. But taking away the run also meant taking away the ability for Patrick Mahomes to scramble. It's his escape hatch, if you will, whenever the pressure gets tough out there. And one of the things that the Eagles did really, really well is whenever Patrick Mahomes would drop back into play action, the Eagles would hold up on the blitz. Now, they sacked him a lot, but there were a lot of times, too, where they would hold up on the blitz and stay at the line of scrimmage, stay close to home, protect the line, and that's what really disrupted Patrick Mahomes and what we've seen him do in those situations where Travis Kelce's locked down, Xavier Worthy is locked down. Xavier Worthy had an absolute great Super Bowl. Even if it's touchdowns in garbage time, I don't care. His future is insanely bright. And another thing that I saw when it comes to Patrick Mahomes is, and I wanted to do more research on this and dig a little bit deeper, I saw him targeting DeAndre Hopkins more than almost any other receiver in this ball game. Of course, the veteran that the Chiefs got during the trade deadline this year, and hadn't really seen a whole lot of targets down the stretch this season. So my thoughts were there must be something in DeAndre Hopkins' contract that might allow him some sort of incentive or bonus for production within the Super Bowl. We saw it on 2-point conversions, saw on deep passes downfield. I know Kelce was doubled down, locked down, but a lot of targets to DeAndre Hopkins. There was one in particular where he was wide open, all alone. The defense did not respect him as a receiver, and he dropped it right in his breadbasket. That was a tough catch to drop there in the Super Bowl on the big stage. But it's a big game that's going to go down as talked about for a long time as kind of one of the duds in Super Bowl history. And I was even talking to Tom on the way into the studio today. He says, do you think we'll ever have a Super Bowl like that again? And my answer to that is yes, because I think eventually probability is going to tell you that eventually you're just going to have a game that's not interesting, not exciting. We have so many that come down to the last second field goal or a controversial penalty. We didn't see that this year, thankfully for that. But eventually, I think you're going to have that dud every once in a while. Boring game, the blowout game. It was so nice of Mr. Kendrick Lamar to allow an NFL game to be played around his rap concert on Sunday night.
How about that one? Man, oh man, oh man. But and I'm going to throw one more little instance in. You hear me talk about the three aspects of, all right, offense, defense, and special teams.
Sure.
How about the field goal kicking, which that guy was not, particularly really doing well. Okay, think about that. And what made it even worse was 3 of the field goals of the 5 he made, they got penalties on.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Yeah. Think about that.
Ice in your veins if you're Jake Elliott. He probably did some really good things to help secure the longevity of his NFL career. Of course, the lonesome kicker, right?
Yeah,
Never getting the respect. The blame is always on you when you lose, but you're on top of the world whenever you do something right. So I've got a young son that wants to be an NFL kicker one day. Hats off to you, Ben. Boy, I've had multiple people even this week say, boy, your son must have ice in his veins. I'm not so sure about that, but maybe that's a trait that can be learned and acquired. But, the Super Bowl is going to go down. Congratulations to the Eagles. They wanted it more. They came out and dominated. They will also dominate the storylines as this one is looked back on in the history books in years to come. We've got a great show for you here today on Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition. We've got one more topic in the NFL that we will get to before we put the season to bed. That's coming up next, right here on 92.9 KVRE.
Second quarter coming up.
And we're back, Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition, 92.9 KVRE with Tracy Simpson. I'm Mark Oliver. Tracy, one more topic to get to in the NFL campaign for the 2024-25 season. We could not move on. I could not put this to bed without talking about this. Of course, before the Super Bowl, leading up the week before the Super Bowl, all the different awards come out, postseason awards and the season awards. And of course, one of the most talked about awards coming into this Super Bowl game was the most valuable player in the NFL. In today's NFL, it's truly difficult to have this discussion some seasons because in past years, they've been really, really close. This year, you can argue this may be one of the toughest decisions in recent memory. Maybe not the absolute closest MVP vote. I go back to 2003 when there was actually a tie for the MVP. Peyton Manning and Steve McNair both sharing that honor. But this one came down to a big three, and there was actually two more, maybe even in the discussion on the outliers. But Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley, certainly the big three. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow rounding out the top five in this discussion. But when the MVP was announced, it was announced to that young man leading the Buffalo Bills up in northern New York. Josh Allen can check another item off of his career to-do list. He edges out Lamar Jackson and Saquon Barkley with 383 total votes, just beating out Jackson by about 21 total votes. It's the closest MVP vote in 22 years. Allen is also the first MVP since Peyton Manning in 2008 to not have a single All-Pro teammate. Allen is only 28 years old. He's the third Bills player to win the league MVP, joining Thurman Thomas and O.J. Simpson. And what do you think? Allen led Buffalo to a fifth consecutive AFC East Division crown this year, playing with a revamped receiving core through 28 touchdowns, tossing a career-low 6 interceptions. He also ran for 12 scores while becoming the first player in NFL history with back-to-back seasons of at least 25 touchdown passes and 12 touchdown runs. Josh Allen, your MVP, was he your MVP going into this?
Mark, I've got to say that I don't know why they do these things so early, because I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of the character has to be evolved around the Super Bowl. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I know that seems sort of, I don't know, waiting for the best guy or maybe the guy that's going to win the Super Bowl. 'Cause, after the MVP of the Super Bowl. But Josh had a great year, don't get me wrong. But then so did Jalen Hurts. I mean, think about it. I mean, I don't know why they had to do this thing so early.
Okay.
And he was in my category. He really was.
Yeah, I think he deserved to be in the top three.
No,
for sure.
Definitely in the top three. But until you, and my aspect of it, until you win the big one, are you the MVP? I mean, that's not only Josh. I'm not knocking him either. I'm going back to the Ravens, too. I mean, he's a great quarterback, but is he the best out there? I mean, he hasn't won a Super Bowl. So what's the gig here? I mean, are they the best at their position, or are they the best, as far as the team? And that's what they're going after right there, but they haven't won the big one. So, I mean, I'm just being the devil's advocate here. Did he have a great season? I mean, you want a great record? Let's go to the Bengals. That guy had a super year. Was he even in the running for it? Well, maybe a little. His numbers were better. So, let's just put it all into perspective. I think if you're the MVP, you're the guy that took them all the way to the top. That's what I think in my position.
So the NFL adamantly, very vehemently states that the MVP award is a regular season award. They don't want it to include postseason considerations. That's why it comes out before the Super Bowl. So yes, we all know that. They've made that abundantly clear. But to your point, should it be a regular season award? Because if you're the most valuable player for the season, I mean, to me, the season also includes the postseason.
That's exactly right.
We're talking about start to finish, because what about a Jalen Hurts, for example, that steps in and overcomes adversity and helps lead his team to the Super Bowl in a David versus Goliath-esque matchup like we just talked about in the Super Bowl? I was very surprised to see Josh Allen get the honor. And, I really tried to break it down and try to, I had to listen to a lot of explanations, a lot of interviews this week on talk shows, trying to break it down and explain it a little bit. And first and foremost, I'll be upfront and saying, if I have to go, if I'm watching a movie and I see an ending, and so many movies have terrible endings, just by the way, but if I watch a movie and then I watch the ending to that movie and I don't have completion to the story, and if it requires me to go to the internet to understand the explanation why this movie ended the way it does, I don't love that. I don't love that at all. I get it. I like things with deep meanings and things like that, but I like things to be explained to me up front where it makes sense to me and I don't have to go have someone explain it to me. Someone had to explain to me why Josh Allen was the MVP this year. Yes, Buffalo had some very big moments this year. They had a somewhat lackluster defense after losing a few guys. The receiving core, lots of new faces this year. James Cook coming in, great running back, by the way.
Great receiver.
But, there were so many question marks for this squad coming into this season. One of the biggest is, are they ever going to get over the hump? Can they ever stop losing to Kansas City in the big game? Of course, this time they struggled, in the exact same location and not being able to get over that hump. So if you consider postseason, he made it a really good year and had great numbers, but in the end still ended up right where he was the year before. But they take into consideration the big win over Kansas City in the regular season, giving Kansas City their first loss of the year. They take into consideration Buffalo also beating a super good Detroit team that honestly should have went to the Super Bowl, but got tripped up by a Red Hot Commanders team along the way. So they are analyzing moments. They're also integrating moments as well as statistics. Josh Allen had a great year, and of course, neck and neck with Lamar Jackson, whom I thought for most of the season, I believed Lamar Jackson should have been getting this award at the end of the season. But, with what Josh Allen did, it was enough to sway the voters. And we always talk about who are they? Who are they? Well, I don't know if you noticed, but this year they released a list of who the voters are.
Stop it.
They sure did.
Stop it.
They sure did. Now, I don't know most of the names, but I'm going to throw out some of the names
Give
here
me to 'em.
that you might know, like a Rich Gannon, a Chris Sims, Tom Brady is one on the list as well. Mike Florio, Mike Tirico of ESPN fame. Many
Tirico.
journalism, many journalists. Teddy Bruschi is one on there as well. Dan Orlovsky is on there as well, who I might add, Orlovsky had Lamar Jackson with a 4th place vote this year in the voting. So there are a lot of names that I don't recognize, mainly because they're journalists from different publications all across the nation. But they did release the list this year, so now we know who they are, and it also released who they voted for in 1st place, 2nd place, all the way through 5th place in the voting. Somebody who got 2nd place in the voting, someone that I thought for most of the season should have won this, was Lamar Jackson with the Baltimore Ravens, and I feel like he was absolutely snubbed for this award. While he's not the true person I felt like should have won it, I'll talk about that in a second. To Lamar Jackson's credit, first quarterback in NFL history with over 4,000 passing yards and over 800 rushing yards. That's huge. First quarterback in NFL history to have at least 40 passing touchdowns and 4 or fewer interceptions in a season. 4th best quarterback passer rating in a single season in NFL history. First reigning MVP to throw 40 touchdowns a year after winning the award. And of course, the Ravens are the first team in NFL history with that over 4,000 passing yards, over 3,000 rushing yards. And Jackson himself was responsible for nearly 27% of the team's total rushing yards. When I think MVP, I think if you removed him from the situation, could this team still win? I guess you can make the argument for Buffalo. Yes. You can also make that argument for Baltimore because Derrick Henry can't do it all. And Lamar Jackson still did amazing things with his arm and his quarterback vision downfield. But a big snub there for Lamar Jackson. And of course, the young man who grew on me as the season went along and may not necessarily care now because he's about to add a Super Bowl ring to his collection. Saquon Barkley missed out on this opportunity. We've talked about this in previous weeks. This has ultimately been a quarterback award, and it's been very few other position players that have won the award since the year 2000. But Saquon Barkley had an unbelievable season. Had the opportunity to break the all-time single-season record of Eric Dickerson and decided not to because he was team first and not player first. He rushed for more than 2,000 yards in a position that is super valuable given the amount of injuries that we've seen to the running back position in years past. And, I think somebody who defended Saquon Barkley the best is a Hall of Fame running back, Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith came out and said, for 2 reasons, I think Barkley should be the MVP, not only because of how valuable the position is, but what he did on the ground with the rushing yards and really what he did coming in from an organization that was failing and flopping, such as the New York Giants, coming in and being that guy. Philadelphia does not make the Super Bowl without him, period. So Can they win without him? I don't think so. Jalen Hurts is great, yes, but I think Saquon Barkley was the X factor this year, and you can chalk that up to Emmitt Smith, an RB, defending an RB, but this is also a Cowboy defending an Eagle. That's a cardinal sin in the NFC East. So, I think that I think there's a lot of merit to that. I think that Josh Allen is the wrong choice for this. I think Lamar Jackson would have been great. I think Saquon Barkley would have been even better here. But the one thing that I will say, and this is a hot take for me, if the MVP award is going to be an award for a guy that you feel sorry for, that you wish could get over the hump and just can't get over the hump, and say that out loud. Say it out loud, because I think that Lamar Jackson's dominance and I think the record-setting season, the potential record-setting season we kind of saw out of Barkley were both greater opportunities to give this award this year.
Well, I'm in agreement with you on that one, but I would have went with him on top, since it is not counting the postseason. But I would have went with him on top.
Who is him?
Well, with your MVP, no doubt.
Barkley.
Yeah.
Okay.
No doubt. I mean, I think, and this is coming from an old running back, and I think that he obviously, it would have been almost neck and neck. Now, like you said earlier, there was once when there was co-MVPs, and of course, him and Jackson right there neck and neck, because I don't think either one of those teams could have done what they did without either one of those. You put another quarterback over at Buffalo, yeah. And actually, maybe even another quarterback with Philadelphia, even though Jalen Hurts has got his credit, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But not another running back like that.
No.
And certainly not another quarterback like that. And I'm on, don't get me wrong, I'm on Joe Burrow's bandwagon completely.
Yeah, great season. Great season.
5,000 yards. I mean, think about it. Of course,
Tom Brady actually gave his vote to Jamar Chase, the Bengals receiver.
Well, there you go.
So there you go.
So,
and that's coming from the greatest quarterback of all time. He did not choose a quarterback.
Well, that's some valuable information there, because, like you said earlier, though, it goes to a quarterback every year. It doesn't matter. I can't, when the last time it went to a running back, it's been a while.
It has been
a while. Okay.
My problem with Josh Allen is that he was not named an All-Pro. He was not named first team All-Pro, all NFL, but Lamar Jackson was. So I don't understand how you can.
Wait a minute. How do you wait? Timeout.
Yes.
Timeout.
Yes, that's my problem.
Out. Okay. Well, then, yeah, we definitely need to.
But Tracy, something that you mentioned, I'm glad that you brought this up. Why not a co-MVP? We've seen it before.
Yes.
I led it at the beginning of this segment for a
That's
reason.
What I'm saying.
This season, especially this season, even if it meant one of these guys doesn't get the honor, it means two of them would. And I would have felt a little bit better about that, because listen, they're all deserving. They're all great. I'm not saying Josh Allen's a terrible quarterback. Wish he could get over the hump in the AFC Championship game, and maybe one time he will.
Never.
Or maybe the Bills are cursed forever.
Never.
I don't know. They lost 4 Super Bowls in a row.
Never.
But what I can tell you is I think the voters got it wrong by at least not considering a double winner. But it's hard whenever Jackson is first team All NFL and Josh Allen isn't.
That just got me.
That kills it for me. That
just blew everything. That just blew it out of the water.
Gives us a lot to think about as we look ahead to the new season.
Who's your MVP? Texas.
I mean, yeah, let us know. Text us 501-915-1300. When we come back, we got a little NBA news to talk about this week, and stick with us. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition continues in a moment on 92.9 KVRE.
Third quarter coming up.
Tracy, for the third quarter of our show, I want to do something a little bit different. So, every Saturday we ask the fans, hey, text the show, let us know your thoughts. And we get a lot of great feedback on the text line, but I'm going to start with a story here for the third segment. So,
okay, here we go. I'm the story guy. Now you got a story?
Well, I mean, you learn from the best, right? Learn from the best. So my family and I last week are eating dinner in Whataburger. And here in Hot Springs, love Whataburger, by the way. The Whata chicken, second to none. Beautiful. Chef's kiss. I was approached by a young man in Whataburger while my family was eating dinner. His name was Brandon, and he said, hey, are you Mark Oliver? I said, yeah, I am. I said, how do you know me from? Because, I mean, let's be honest, I wear a lot of hats here in town. Maybe it's my work with the Nighthawks or Mountain Pine or whatever. And he said, hey, I listened to your show on KVRE, and you made a comment on last Saturday's show that I just didn't agree with. And I said, hey, man, tell me more. Tell me more. And he said, last week on your show, you said, we're talking about the NBA trade deadline, and the Luka trade, and Kevin Durant was possibly going to get dealt. And he said, I don't want to go back to Golden State. And I said, well, honestly, I'm really not that high on Kevin Durant. And this young man, Brandon is the name, he challenged me. He said, go back. I want you to go back and look at what Kevin Durant has done in his career. And I want you to really see if you're not high on what he's done. So challenge accepted. Now, fun fact, Kevin Durant this week eclipsed 30,000 points in the third quarter of Tuesday night's loss to Memphis with a big free throw. He is now one of 8 players in NBA history to have that mark. The Phoenix Suns superstar joins LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Karl Malone, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Dirk Nowitzki, and Wilt Chamberlain. It's pretty elite company.
Wow.
Now, Durant is in the 17th season in the league. He's a 4-time NBA scoring champion. He's a 4-time Olympic gold medalist. He owns 2 NBA championships and 2 NBA Finals MVPs, both of those with Golden State. He won Rookie of the Year. He has won an MVP. He's an 11-time All-NBA team member, and he's been named to 15 All-Star games. Simply put, he checks a lot of boxes here. Now, going back to my comment and wanting to say why I'm not super high on Kevin Durant is he comes in, he's drafted 2nd overall, goes to Seattle Supersonics. He's the last great Supersonics player. He's the first great Oklahoma City Thunder player. He leads the Thunder to the NBA Finals in 2012. Couldn't get over the hump. The Thunder have that huge big 3 that when you look back at it, how did these guys never win a championship with Durant, Harden, and Westbrook? And in 2016, he signs with Golden State. The Warriors come off of that historic 73-win season. They're winning the title, and Durant joins them to win the championships in 2017 and 2018. That's really where my maybe dislike of Durant, I guess, kind of came into play there, was it felt like really, really good. He wanted to win so bad that he joined the winning team in order just to get a ring. And he did. He got 2 of them, and it wasn't that he got carried by those teams. He carried those teams. If you want to look at him winning those NBA Finals MVPs, of course, he goes on after that to Brooklyn. Let me take that back. In the NBA Finals against the Toronto Raptors, he ruptures his Achilles tendon. That basically ends his career at Golden State. He ends up in Brooklyn, where he heals for a year from the injury, and that big 3 with Kyrie Irving and James Harden goes down as probably the worst big 3 of all time. Now he's in Phoenix, where I got to say, I think he's kind of settled down a little bit with the whole team jumping aspect. Of course, he was on the block this year at the deadline.
That's what brought this whole thing up.
Golden State wanted him back. Of course, the Warriors were looking for a really, really big piece. They end up getting Jimmy Butler instead of Kevin Durant. But Durant says, you know what? I'm fine with where I'm at. I really don't want to go back to Golden State. That door is closed for me. I really don't want to go play for those guys again. I kind of like where I'm at here in Phoenix, and I like our chances here. And to me, that move, that mindset shows growth and maybe challenges me to relook at Kevin Durant in another way. Like I said, he's 17 years into the league. He's an elite scorer still. He averages 27.1 points per game. He shoots an impressive 52.8% from the floor. Can't deny 30,000 points is a huge achievement. He obviously still has gas in the tank. He's trying to lead Phoenix to an NBA championship. It'll be their first ever, but he's up there now in the upper echelon in terms of scoring, but where do you see Kevin Durant ranking among the all-time greats?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say, go Brandon. Go Brandon.
Yes.
I got to give Brandon some props there, brother. I got news for you. But here's the deal. Until you gave me those numbers, I was really I was in the same boat with you, paddling in the same direction, going, he was just going from team to team. And then
it felt that way.
I mean,
couldn't win here. Let me go here.
Yeah, like I don't want to be on that team no more.
Yeah.
One of those.
Hey, and how many times have we talked about that in the past few weeks? And it's not just Kevin Durant.
No,
it's not just Jimmy Butler. It's not just Ben. It's everybody.
It's everybody wanting to go where they think that they can get a championship, and it's all me. But when you brought up those numbers, those are staggering. And the names that you brought into that party were staggering right there. And what really caught me off guard there was Nabinski. I didn't even. That was another one that threw me off there.
I know,
that
right?
One, the other ones I could see. Even Karl Malone, a couple of. You were a big Utah guy. I know.
I
John
really
Stockton.
I really was.
But Nabinski, I didn't see that one in there.
Yeah.
The other names. Holy cow.
I mean, yeah, these are all Hall of Fame candidates.
These are all,
of course, LeBron James is not in the Hall of Fame yet, but he will be.
But no, it's just a matter of
But
time.
I mean, and Kevin Durant is absolutely has a resume to get him there as well.
But I'm going to change one on you. I think when it's all said and done, I think he'll want to go back to Oklahoma City and retire there.
Well,
I'm going to throw that on you.
Well, to go full circle, and everybody kind of thought that might happen at the trade deadline as well this year. Of course, Oklahoma City, one of the best teams in the West.
Well, they don't need him this year. They
if
don't
not
need
the
him
best
this year.
team in the West, but it would kind of bring his career full circle.
Full circle.
I don't know what that would be received like in the fan base. Now, if it was one thing where, Kevin Durant's in his mid-30s, and, how long is he going to play? I don't know. Not everybody is a LeBron James, but it would be one thing if Oklahoma City was mediocre, even bottom of the barrel, and just wanting to kind of finish where you started. But I'm afraid that a move like that would possibly, I don't want to say, it wouldn't tarnish his career. That's not the right thing to say.
Let me throw
but
you a scenario.
in the eyes of the fans, I think they'd be like, yeah, he's just jumping to another team that's really, really good.
And that's what he's going to do. Let me throw you a scenario, just like he did, with Golden State.
Yeah.
Okay? Or this year, if they win it, obviously some of them, they may go down somewhere else because they're going to get more money, the way everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
And at that instance right there, because Phoenix is starting to slip a little bit over there, because with the big trade, looks like, they're moving her out. But I'm telling you right now, they win it this year. They lose a couple of players. What do? They maybe bring in the old veteran to try to revamp them again, because he's the one that built that house over there. Matter of fact, I remember those days like it was yesterday. And being a part of in Oklahoma City a lot, trust me, every billboard had him on it. Through. I mean, not just the three, but it was him everywhere. And if they win this year, then they lose a couple of players. They're going to need that veteran to pull it all back. And sure enough, they'll come back and they'll be they'll be crazy again in Oklahoma City for him.
It could be a really good story. I will give you that. And honestly, I was disappointed.
Mama lives there.
I was disappointed to learn that the city of Durant, Oklahoma, was not named after Kevin Durant. Fun fact, it was there before he got there.
Gosh.
But how funny would that be? Congratulations to Kevin Durant, certainly. I mean, he is 7 feet tall. He's an absolute scoring monster with the physicality that he has. Difficult to defend, not too difficult to see why he would get to this point. Still a lot of gas in the tank. And, honestly, I thank Brandon for maybe helping change my outlook on Kevin Durant. Now, where he goes, once his career is over, is he a top 10 player all time? Boy, that's really hard to say.
Let's don't go there yet.
Well, I mean, there's so many good players in the NBA.
Yeah.
Even if you aren't a top 10 player all time, that should not take away from the fact that you were a game changer and really, really good for this sport. Because
is he a Hall of Famer?
He's absolutely a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
He's got to be. And if not just simply for the way that he's led this country internationally on the Olympic stage alone, but I think the resume is there. I know that there are some NBA players that have way more NBA titles than Kevin Durant have and probably ever will have, but I don't think it always comes down to rings. I think it comes down to what you can do for the game, what you did for the game, your ability on the court, your abilities off the court. Also, I think should kind of play into it with philanthropy and on the Olympic stage, which is technically not NBA statistics, but I think all those things should be considered because there are so many things that make an individual, a young man, an old man in the NBA, whatever you want to call it, really great and great to be remembered there.
No doubt about it. Once again, thank you, Brandon. Appreciate it. Who's your favorite guy now? Mark, Brandon? Let's go to the next quarter.
All right, we got one more quarter on this week's show. Don't go anywhere. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition continues in a moment on 92.9 KVRE.
Fourth quarter coming up.
Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE with Tracy Simpson. I'm Mark Oliver. For the fourth quarter of this week's show, it's the local roundup, as always. And Tracy, some really big news for some high school superstars right here in the Garland County area this past week. Numerous high school football players signing their letters of intent to continue their respective careers on the next level. We would like to congratulate those young men this week, starting with TJ Ellis of Hot Springs High School, signing to play football with the Scots of Lyon College in Batesville. Another Trojan making his way to the big stage at UCA in Conway. Jeremiah Attaway signing his letter of intent to trade his Trojan black and gold for the purple and gray of UCA. Congratulations to you. Kyan Jamerson, also of the Hot Springs High Trojans, going to be taking his talents out of state to Northwest Missouri State University, signing with them in a signing day ceremony. And a couple of other athletes not from Hot Springs World Class High School. Here's one from Lake Hamilton High School. How about Hayden Barton signing with Ouachita Baptist University? I know Rex Nelson is very happy to get that signing down in Tiger Country. Paint it purple. Hayden Barton making his talents down to Arkadelphia. And then, of course, Lakeside superstar Grady Oman signs to become a Hendrix Warrior. With the exception of one young man, Tracy, one of the things I love to see is these young men born and raised right here in our KVRE listening area, staying close to home to go to college and continuing their college careers, their athletic careers, their academic careers. At an Arkansas institution for most of them. And it's okay if you don't go to Arkansas and branch out, but I love to see these homegrown athletes continue to strengthen the various schools and institutions here in Arkansas. It doesn't always have to be the Arkansas Razorbacks. There are multiple great colleges and universities here in this state that would love to have you and continue those legacies and build those storylines. Best of luck to all of them on the bright futures ahead of them.
Center Point senior Tate Spray signing for Harding University Bison team.
Oh, yes.
Where he was an offensive lineman over at Center Point. And, man, you talk about offensive line. If Harding wants you, man, oh, man, that means you've done something, I'm telling you. But
yeah, they won the national championship just a year prior. And, hey, we saw Tate Spray. If you remember back in the fall, Center Point and Fountain Lake going to battle.
Got after it.
And let me tell you something. Tate Spray was a menace out there on the field. Fountain Lake struggled with him all night long. We knew it was going to happen.
Couldn't get through it.
Congratulations to him for going to the next level.
No doubt. So congratulations to these kids. You know, we love watching this, Mark. Through the years, we've seen it time and time again, and just enjoy watching them when they were. And now when they're, where they're going and to the next level, that's exciting. I'm telling you, and future careers are started. And we're going to see some, like we said, in basketball even coming up. They'll be signing in baseball also.
Oh, yes.
So pretty good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, if you become aware of a signing for your high school athlete in the KVRE listening area, we'd love to hear from you. You can text that signing to us, 501-915-1300. All right, Tracy, let's take it around the table here. I know that Alice Nichols Bates would probably fire me from KVRE if I didn't talk about this next topic because it is opening weekend in Fayetteville. Arkansas Razorbacks baseball is back, baby. Washington State with a big game, 2 o'clock first pitch today. They'll conclude the series tomorrow, Sunday, February 16th at 1. Actually, I'm sorry, they also play Monday, so it is a 4-game stretch. My apologies. Monday, February 17th, that's a noon start as well. Hey, later today in Fayetteville, baseball beanie to the first 1,000 fans there inside Razorback Stadium at Baum Walker, and baseball's back. And of course, the big storyline, things ended on a somber note last year for Arkansas, not able to get over that hump in the Super Regional, even though that they host these tournaments, and I know it's got to be frustrating for the program, but hey, I would say that the college baseball world has not yet given up on the Razorbacks. They're ranked in the top 5 in the nation coming into this season. And if they still have hope for the Razorbacks, well, by golly, we should still too.
Well, they had one of the top, I'm telling you, their pitching this year. If you thought we had it last year, Mark, you just wait. Some of the top prospects went to the Razorbacks this year. And, in baseball, you've been around that long enough. That's your bread and butter right there. So it doesn't matter whether you're a freshman. And, of course, seniors get a little bit more action, as far as seeing the mound a little bit more. But you got some freshmen that can, right from the get-go, that can contribute. And I think you're going to see that this year with the Razorbacks, because it just doesn't take much for a kid to transition from junior high to high school. But from high school to college level, there's a big jump there. But so for you to be chosen by the Razorbacks means that you really got some stuff. You know your stuff. I'm telling you.
Well, losing an arm like Hagen Smith to the MLB draft, of course, I'm super excited to see, hopefully see him go to work with the Chicago White Sox this season. I know it's not a great situation. Trust me, I'm a Sox fan, but I'm really excited what he does on the big stage. But you're right, the big shoes to fill coming into this season. They knew that they had to go out and get more weapons in the pitching core. They went and they did that. And they knew they needed to go get more bats, and they went and they did that. Another name that I think is going to be a really big name that we hear a lot this year, Nolan Souza, the team's starting second baseman.
No doubt.
He's an indispensable piece at the top of this Razorbacks lineup. You know, a lot of the leadership's going to fall on his shoulders offensively and defensively also. Honestly, Dave Van Horn has a lot of confidence in this young man. During the fall and spring scrimmages, he led the team with steals and was third on the team in runs scored. That's the kind of leader that you need atop the lineup that can go out, do it all. You need well-rounded baseball players because it is a long season, and really it all comes down to very much like what we talked about with the Buffalo Bills earlier in our discussion today. Can they get back to the stage where they have the opportunity to advance to the College World Series, and then ultimately what will it take to get there?
No. And Mark, I want to ask you a question too a little bit later on, and we're going to bring this up a little bit more in depth down the road. But do you see, I mean, in college football, we see so much of the portal. I mean, it's unbelievably, you cannot deny that it's made a difference. But in baseball, you know, we've seen it a little bit here or there, but has it made that big of an impression on baseball yet? And I know that kids are hopping around, don't get me wrong, but do we see so much of that in baseball as we do as in football, make that big of an impression?
It's there. It's there. And thanks to NIL, it's there even more. Now, is it publicized as much as the college football?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's not. But it's still there lurking in the shadows. And of course, I mean, here in Arkansas, college football is king. It may always will be, even though you can make the argument that there are other Arkansas Razorbacks teams in Fayetteville that deserve the recognition more than football. But that's a discussion for another day. But yeah, they're on the baseball side.
Track and field.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's there. And of course, hey, they're trying to get to the big dance as well. They want to get into the MLB draft. And you got to think about it. Right. That MLB draft, as opposed to the NFL draft, a lot more players going through. They got to go, you break in into a farm system and AAA, AA, single A, whatever, the minor leagues. So the route to get to where you want to be at the end of the road feels a lot longer, feels a lot harder on the baseball side. So absolutely, players jumping ship, and it doesn't happen just in the NBA, right? It happens in college football as well. They want to make sure that they have the best possible opportunity to win. And hey, even though Arkansas has not been able to get over that hump, we see many, many young men still choosing Arkansas as their home because they believe that this is the year that the Hogs can do something special.
Hey, wouldn't that right there, knowing that they've never won it, but if you look in the last 10 years, and we've brought this up before, look who's won the World Series. What conference has it been from? And we know the South Carolinas of the world. We know the Vandy. We know all that. But look who's there time and time again, close. And for you to be on that team that finally does it, wouldn't that be special to you and then also to your draft, choice? Or, I'm just looking at it from that angle. I think a lot of that has to play with it because a lot of these kids, hey, look, you go to Fayetteville, it's nice up there on the hill.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But boy, it's secluded. but
it
kind of feels to look forward to.
Well, Tracy, it kind of feels, and I've said this for many years, Northwest Arkansas really feels like the 51st state in the United States.
It's different.
It just feels so disconnected and different from the rest of Arkansas. But we still love it. We still love going up there and cheering on the Hogs. And, another thing, too, you mentioned the SEC. The SEC's dominance in college baseball is certainly known and felt. So why are these Razorback commits not going to the other schools in the SEC? Why are they coming to Arkansas? It's because basically at the top of the rung, at the top of the ladder, the SEC is still that knock 'em down, drag 'em out fist fight where anybody can win at the end of the season. And, Arkansas has a lot of the weapons, certainly has a really good coach. I know people were calling for Dave Van Horn's head at the end of the season. You're not going to get anybody better out there unless somebody leaves a
Who's coming in?
So,
Walker play there?
There's a lot of confidence still in what this program can do, and there's something about the beginning of the season, that opening day, that opening weekend, that clean slate kind of thing that makes everything feel really special. Lots of possibilities at the end of the rainbow.
And people got to realize, a lot of those fair weather fans out there, look, getting close is, that's valuable, because when it comes to Van Horn,
it is.
You hear him talk about, yeah, we haven't won it, but you know what? Look how many kids that I've coached that have gone to the next level and also been productive in society. And that's a lot that people forget. These are still young men trying to become successful in society. And you may not make it to the MLBs, but you look down the road, and a lot of these headliners that were there at one time are now successful in business. They're good fathers. They're good figures in society. And that's something that I think necessitates a look at also. That's what Van Horn represents, not just making the big move and getting the big numbers and also winning the championship. You've seen these guys time and time again come back to different organizations, whether it's the Little League Series or whether it's the Boys and Girls Club, and notice how it was all because Dave Van Horn helped them get in this situation there. That right there speaks volumes.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
That's Tracy Simpson bringing this show full circle. Whether it's Brandon inspiring me to change my opinion on Kevin Durant, or Kevin Durant himself understanding that, you know what, I don't have to always hop teams to find a championship. I'm going to continue to build better with what I have. That is absolutely the message. Winning is great. Winning is not everything. You try to win the game, but it's also about what you do with the opportunity that you have. That makes you great. That's our show, Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition, 92.9 KVRE. We're here every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. He's Tracy Simpson. I'm Mark Oliver. Have a great week.
Game over.